Hey everyone. So, new construction with Nick Clark today. So, I've had a lot of people say they want to know more about new construction and the process and they want to be experts. So, I have on Nick Clark. Nick has been with Dr. Horton for 9+ years, sales. He's somebody that we've worked with over and over through the years and is an absolute expert in the business. So we're going to talk to him and ask him some questions. And really, I feel like one of the biggest things I want to talk about some questions and ask about new construction. But if you're on here and you're a realtor, the reason why is because you want to sell more. Like, how can we be better agents with reps for new construction? Because I'll say this, there's been so many times where we're in there and then we see a new agent come in with their cards and they're like, hey, I just want to drop off my cards. And basically they're like, hey, if you have any referrals, will you send them my way? I mean, how many times does that happen to these guys where they're like, hey, give me referrals? So we've always, as a team, we've always wanted to go above and beyond and show that, we're bringing in buyers. We would love referrals, but we're bringing in buyers. We're going to show you, we're going to be awesome agents. So anyways, I just think that some of this too, I want to touch on how you can be an awesome, agent on the other side. So somebody might want to refer you too, right? So I do want to say really quickly with Dr. Horton, we do a lot of business with Dr. Horton as a team. They are a builder this year in 2022 that has land. Thank you. Their land acquisition company. I mean, we are low in inventory, right? We don't have a lot to sell, but all of a sudden Dr. Horton has a lot of land. And I don't know if this is true. Tell me in a second, but I know when we went to your event a month or so ago, you guys were going to have like 500 or 400 existing properties to sell at the beginning of this year. So they are a company who's building spec homes. So we as realtors have inventory, and that is so huge. They also have, I'll say real quick, a program now that they've started for us realtors to motivate us in 2022 and 2023. The more homes you sell, the more commission you're gonna make. So thank you to my rockstar team. We are there. So we just sold 3 Dr. Horton homes in January. We'll get paid out at 2.7%. And now we will get grandfathered for the rest of the year on a higher commission of 3.5%. So they are rewarding us for selling more. And thank you to a builder who is rewarding us, not reducing our commissions. Number one. And also thank you to a builder who has homes for us to sell, who is motivated to put more inventory out there. So this to me is magic, and is why we're selling a lot, and we like working with them anyways. They're a great fit for a lot of our clients. So thank you, Nick, for being here.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Kelly.
Tell us first a little bit about you and your experience. You've been there for 9 years.
Yeah, I'm one of many realtors in the state of Minnesota who at one point or another decided to make a massive left-hand turn in terms of career arc and left an entirely different industry for real estate about a decade ago and landed very softly in the welcoming arms of the team at Dr. Horton, who have provided a tremendous opportunity for myself and my family to learn and grow in this business and achieve some dreams, which has been really, really cool. And to be a part of a team here locally in Minnesota that, while we're a big national builder and have the financial backing of the largest home builder in the country with frankly the deepest pockets of any builder in the country, we're a pretty local business. Everything is run here in Minnesota. We're Minnesota people designing Minnesota homes and selling to a lot of Minnesota buyers. And so it feels really like we're at home here. And just to expand upon Kelly's point, and I overheard the tail end of the 9 o'clock meeting, talking about some of the build times builders are providing their customers if you want to go from dirt up. We've pretty much eliminated that from our business model. For now, we're a spec home only builder. Eventually, we will, I'm sure, at some point in the next year or two, transition back to selling from dirt. But we're a spec home only builder, and what that means is, frankly, quicker delivery dates, more inventory, quicker delivery dates. And more opportunities for people to get into new homes. We recognized for the last probably 12 to 14 months that as the inventory levels in the Twin Cities continue to drop to record lows. You guys know this. It's impossible. It's I don't want to say impossible. It's so difficult for your buyers to capture a home that we're trying to fill the gap in the best way we can. We run into the same problems many builders do, and I'm sure we'll chat a little bit about supply chains and labor and what COVID's done to our business model. But the reality is we keep striving to deliver inventory to the market. And that is something that is only going to ramp up as the weather improves and we get deeper into the spring. We got big plans for the entire calendar year. And we're looking to start anywhere from 100 to 125 brand new inventory homes every month across the Twin Cities this year.
Every month.
Every month. Yep, every month. And so we're trying to supply the inventory with some market, and we're doing our best. And I tell you what, they've resonated with the buying market already here. We've had a record January, which it's just wild. You know, it's like usually, you know, everybody kind of says spring market starts after the Super Bowl. It was like, 9 a.m. on January 2nd, my phone was ringing and it pretty much hasn't stopped all month, which is a lot of fun.
That's super interesting though. Spring market is here now, and that's something we need to educate our buyers on. I also like what you said about spec homes, because in the beginning, there's a lot of people, if you haven't sold a lot of new construction, you're like, well, a lot of people want to build from scratch. You think they want to build from scratch and do their own thing. But not only does it just take forever. We have just noticed with our clients, a lot of them are great and fine with spec homes as long as what they put in the homes, and they're being smart about what they put in the homes, about the granite and whatever the selections are to appeal to many different people. So we have found that our buyers, I used to think, no, most of the people want to build from scratch. They are loving spec homes. They don't want to wait. We can get them in there. And that's a lot, 125 homes a month.
Yep.
That's huge. That's huge. Okay, let's start with some just basic questions. So new versus existing, advantages for new construction.
Well, the obvious ones, right? Everything's new, roof, windows, furnace, AC unit. Obviously, the idea of the warranty protection is real. Especially when you build a home here in the Twin Cities. As I look out my window now and snow is flying sideways up here in the North Metro, weather can impact a lot of things, including how a home matures over the course of the first year. And that's something that we take very seriously, the warranty end of this. When you buy a Dr. Horton home, and I hope, I'm going to talk a lot about Dr. Horton, and I hope every builder actually reacts the same to this, because the reality is on our side of the industry, we all need to really be pulling on the same rope in the same direction. And it's geared towards, taking care of our home buyers, not only up until the day of closing, but, afterwards. And it's a real part of it. And so that's something that we take very, very, very seriously.
And it is important. And I want to elaborate on that in a sec, because we work with a lot of builders. We work a lot with Dr. Horton, but we work with a lot of different builders, and some of them are better after the fact than others. And if you are a realtor who's dealing with a builder over and over again, and there's all these issues after the fact and they've closed, like that's like blowing up your life, right? So it's really amazing to work with some builders. We all know them that have warranty departments that get to stuff or don't. And Dr. Horton is great about that. Nick, will you talk about the 1, 2, and 10-year warranties that they do offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's regulated by the state. Every builder offers the same sort of protection. The first year, we like to refer to it as a bumper to bumper style warranty, right? Like literally everything in the home is going to be protected that first year. Most of, 99% of what buyers experience over the course of the first year will be cosmetic. I talked about the climate and how the materials we're going to use, specifically the wood, is going to dry out. The lumber is going to dry out, and it's going to cause cracks and seams. And I'm looking at one in my house right now. Nail pops, that sort of thing that it's just unavoidable. And so that's all something that you're protected over the course of the first year. There's a 2-year full warranty protection on the important stuff, right? The furnace, all of your plumbing work, all of your electrical work, all of the heating and all of the cooling is covered for 2 full years. And then the 10-year warranty is really good. It's structural, right? So framing, foundation, you name it in terms of structure of the home, you get a decade worth of protection from that. The biggest part of the warranty process, though, is, and kind of Kelly alluded to it, I said it, a minute ago, is how do we respond? One of the things we do really well here in the Twin Cities, and I kind of mentioned this at the open, is we're a national builder, but we're a local company. And you file a warranty claim with Dr. Horton in Minnesota, you're not going to some call box in our national office in Arlington, Texas. You go to my friend Dara's inbox in Lakeville, and within a couple hours, she's on it. And usually it's in your supervisor's box within a day. And that homebuyer's phone is ringing sometime that next afternoon. So it's a pretty snappy kind of process for us. And that's something that's important, right? Because the homeowners, our home buyers, put a lot of trust in us to build them a quality home. And when there are issues that need to be resolved, we try to get on it right away.
Okay. are you seeing, this just came up in my head. Are you seeing, obviously, you guys have to go through, when you talk about this, I just thought about this, through the state of Minnesota, you guys have a bunch of checkpoints that they send through to make sure you can close, right? Certain things have to be done.
Inspections. Yep.
So will you talk about that for a second? And then will you talk about, do people have their own, like, what is the percentage of realtors that have their own independent inspections? And so talk about that too.
I will. And this is actually an amazing point. And I've kind of, the last couple of years, I've kind of transitioned my conversation with buyers on this. I believe in inspections. Third-party inspectors are a huge part of the real estate industry. And I think there's tremendous value. Do they add much to a new buyer's experience when you're buying a new home? You know, in this environment, when we're building homes, you know, if they come in a week to 10 days in advance of closing, most of what they're going to point out is going to be on our list. A lot of realtors do try to push the idea of an inspection. The reality is, like where I sell homes in Dayton, that home is inspected 13 times by the city over the course of construction, and they are thorough. In my opinion, your buyer is going to get the most value from an inspection standpoint if they hire the inspector to come out about 10 months after closing. Come out before that first year warranty expires and really look at the home at 10, 11 months. And then just, they're going to notice stuff that you as a homeowner might not have even noticed over the course of that first year that pops up. Anything major, rest assured, if an inspector, if we missed, and I'm trying to think, I don't have any great examples, but let's just say sealing a window or something stupid like that, like we're going to notice that in the first couple weeks or months after you move in. You know, you can pay the inspector $500 to point it out before you close, but it's warranted. We're going to get you fixed. We're going to notice it. The reality is you get more value doing a little later in the year, because at that point you're submitting your year-end warranty and then everything gets wrapped up by the end of that first year.
Yeah. And it's really important, no matter what builder you're doing with, to remind your clients, like on month 11, to make sure, because when after a year, they don't have that warranty anymore. Right. So, okay, that's okay. Talk to us about labor shortages with stuff, what you're seeing right now. Obviously, we saw lumber last year. We saw windows last year. What are any issues like that? And what are you guys doing to resolve that?
Well, it's a great question. And I can promise you we're working every day to resolve it. We're continuing to try to add labor. The biggest hurdle that we've had the last probably 18 months has been there are more people buying new homes than there are people that are building new homes. And that's the reality of the game we're trying to play. And so we're trying to offset that in several ways. One of which is build smarter. I kind of talked about the inventory process. It also allows us to kind of build in order down a street, right? Where we're going from one house to the next house, to the next house, to the next house, to the next house, which, believe it or not, if your plumber doesn't have to go from one side of the neighborhood to the other side, 15, 20 times over the course of a week, we're shaving half a day off of the work week where he can just go right next door and keep working. So we're trying to really use our heads around trying to utilize the talent we have in the best way. There are still hurdles. There are still unknowns. There are still things we have no control over, specifically the COVID, pandemic we're dealing with. And, in my specific neighborhood this last week, not to say too much that I'm really not supposed to, but, 6 out of 10 guys were out. And it was a real hurdle. The good news is with kind of some of the CDC guidelines getting back to narrowing the amount of time that people are required to be off work. And a lot of these guys aren't getting very sick. It's been nice. They're getting back to work a little quicker, but that's still a big hurdle. And that's something that it doesn't matter how many people you have, you can't avoid that. But we're doing our best and we continue to add. And that's something that we talked about this week in our team's meeting is, when our higher ups within the Minnesota division are being asked about adding additional labor, they're saying when, not how much, right? And so we're taking it on. We're willing to pay anybody. And this is like, if you guys know anybody who's in the industry that wants to work for a national builder, we're on the chase for new labor. But the reality is we're paying for it too, and we're doing it, and we're not jacking up our prices 10 grand every month. Which is something where as you get deeper into this year, you're going to see national builders have to raise prices a little bit due to the reality that the labor and the materials portion of our business model continues to rise. But we're not jumping 10 a month. We've kind of got a strategy in place that seems to work, and it seems to take less pressure off the buyers. If they need a week or two to decision, they know this week or to make the decision, they know this week or two isn't going to cost them 10, 15 grand. It might cost them 2 or 3, but usually they can handle that.
That's what you have always been good at, though, of letting people know, like, you can
Yeah.
wait, it might be 2 or 3 grand more. And
Yep.
then people will ask us, and that's our job as good realtors to let people know, yeah, that's legitimate. Because some people are like, they're just saying that. No, that's legitimate. That's what we've seen. But Dr. Horton has done a great job, and we sold so many homes with you guys last year because also, I mean, there are builders out there where all of a sudden it's 20, 30 more. Or we had a builder last year that they signed a purchase agreement and they're like, oh, you got to pay $30,000 more now because things went up.
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem. We did not work with them anymore. Dr. Horton does not do that, but that's why you really got to pay attention to who the good builders are to work with. I also want to go back to closing dates and obviously with shortages with stuff is you guys don't give that closing date until about 2 months out. So people don't have that closing date. And so I don't think we didn't have any delays in closing with Dr. Horton last year. And that's a big thing. No, because they wait until that 2-month mark before. So 60-day prior, we get that closing date. And that's as a listing agent, that's my cue. Okay, I'm ready to go on the market. We got that home ready. Now we'll go and sell their existing home. And then I haven't had that date change much at all.
Yeah.
I don't think we had any. So you guys have done a really, really, really good job with that.
Yeah, and I think one of the keys to that is communicating, right? Like several of you have had buyers with me over the course I've been doing this, and you're probably bombarded by emails from me literally every week. We keep your buyers looped in as to what's happening each and every week. So if there is a hurdle, 90 days in advance of our anticipated closing, like, we're communicating that to you, so it's not a surprise at 60 days.
Yep.
We are really good. Our construction supervisors, and I don't take any credit for this, our construction supervisors are the ones that hit the dates. And they are the ones that also release the dates. So they don't release them until they know for sure that the schedule is locked in and they're going to be safe. Because we know, as a buyer, I mean, when all of a sudden the goalposts move 10 days, 15 days in advance of closing, and we thought it was going to be this Tuesday, instead it's going to be next Monday or next Friday or whatever, the impact, the dominoes in the order in which they fall is really significant. Especially if you're trying to match up closing dates on a used property, or if your lease expires in your rental, or whatever the story might be, or my 3 kids and my 2 dogs that are jammed into this little apartment and I just want my new home, right? Like, we're always trying to communicate to the best we can. Again, we can't control everything, but our supervisors, the guys who actually are in charge of building the homes, they're the MVPs of the last 18 months. I'm really blessed to work for a builder that takes that very, very seriously. We hire great people, very skilled people that can manage the sites and the demands that we ask of our construction partners and hit these dates because we all have the same end goal. Whether you're in construction, if you're the builder's rep or the buyer's rep, like, our goal is a happy homeowner. And that's really all it's about for us. And the only way we do that is by kind of holding up our end of the bargain.
And I believe you guys do, because it's really unfun on the other side if things go wrong. Because just like you alluded to, that closing date, even being off one day, they have movers, they have all the things that creates massive chaos. So having and working with a builder who keeps those dates and doesn't give a date too early,
Right.
And as our jobs too, we got to educate people and say, hey, listen, you're annoyed. You don't know the date you're going to put your house on the market, but this is typical. We're waiting for that date before. And, we've done a lot of business with Dr. Horton. We've done a lot of business with whoever the builder is, and share your knowledge is what, at least when we get that date, we know it's going to be solid.
Right. And there's another layer to that, in fact, that is more, prominent so far this year than we've seen in the last couple of years. And that's the interest rate discussion. When you buy a new home, your buyers are absolutely eager to lock in an interest rate. Most lenders, they'll offer you a free rate lock at 60 or 70 days. I know we have a preferred lender in-house, which most of our buyers end up going that route. We've got a nice hefty incentive tied to that. But the reality is you still want to lock in your rate and protect the payment estimate that you were provided. And as they continue to rise, I think it's going to be important for all of us on this call to continue to offer a little perception and reality dose of the conversation, right? Like, if rates or when rates jump to 4%, the sky's not falling. 4 years ago, that was a rock star rate. And we were selling homes in bulk back then too, right? Like, we're going to have to kind of readjust the mindset of some of the people that have grown accustomed to low 3s and high 2s. But it is part of the conversation right now. And so we try to work with the buyer to give them a real sense of, when you're 60 days out, of this is a safe time to lock in your rate. and start working with your lender on getting ready to close on your brand new home.
Yep. And being upfront about those discussions too. I like that. So rates are going up. We're expecting them, not freaking people out. We talk a lot about doing video and educating our clients, right? Of not freaking them out, but these are still good rates, but this is what we're seeing. This is what's happening until you lock in that rate. So good conversation on the lender front. So let's talk about this a little bit more. So builders sometimes offer incentives to work with their lender. So a lot of times, it can happen where you're working with a buyer and they have a lender, they already have a lender, you're showing them existing, and maybe they end up with new construction. So sometimes they have to switch. We find that the majority of our clients who build new construction go with the builder lender because they offer incentives. Now, tell us what your incentives are, and do the majority of people go with your lender?
Yeah, absolutely. So the incentive is it's real cold hard cash. It's $5,000 up to $5,000 in closing costs. It's tied to both mortgage and title. And just to kind of educate the group a little bit on that standpoint, we do tread lightly on the mortgage conversation. Our capture rate on mortgage is upwards of probably 85 to 90%, meaning 8 to 9 of everybody that buys 8 or 9 of the every 10 people that buy a home with Dr. Horton are going to use our partners, primarily because the deal's too good to pass up, right? If you have 3 pre-qualifications or 3 loan estimates in front of you, and you just make a business decision as a family, we're hard to compete with based on the incentives we offer. There are additional layers to that conversation, just keeping everything in-house for the smoothest transaction. But if we separate mortgage and title, just for a minute, the mortgage end of it, the biggest thing the biggest headache people run into that use outside lenders when you're buying a new home, specifically here in the Twin Cities, is the escrow portion, right? And a lot of the big national builders aren't escrowing with outside lenders. And the reason is we're already escrowed for the same stuff with the cities we build in. This was something that popped up 10, 12 years ago when the housing market kind of went boom, or the other way, I should say. And cities had to react because builders were out of business and they were leaving stuff incomplete on their homes. And so they started to collect escrow money from the builder at the time of permit to make sure, like, if Dr. Horton goes out of business, I can still go finish the Smith's, property, right? I've got money set aside for the driveway, the yard, the trees, whatever it might be. So we give them that money up front. And so the escrow portion is a big, big layer to the conversation, just to make sure your buyers are educated on that, because it's between the buyer and the lender to determine who funds the escrow account. The other side of the table is the title conversation. I don't care who.
Hold on, before you go to title, let's talk about that lender, and let's talk for people who don't understand this escrow situation. This is a situation. This can be a situation, and it's really, 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 really important to point this out to, because they might be like, oh, I want to use this bank. I've used them forever. That's fine. But here's what this truly, truly, truly means, especially in Minnesota, when driveways might not be in, landscaping, sod, irrigation, some of these things might not be in. And so if they use an outside lender and these items are not done, they have to escrow out of their pocket 1.5 times the amount until that is complete. Yeah. So let's say it's 10 grand. They have to escrow $15,000 at closing, and they don't get it back until it's done. And a lot of people, even if they have it, they do not want to do that. So if you use the builder's lender, they're escrowing it, you don't have any problems. But I can't tell you how many times I've had it. Most of my clients now use the builder's lender, but I've had so many times it happens where I tell them that. So if we get there, because they're like, it's going to be August, we're fine. Yeah. But then the sod is backed up or whatever it is, whatever that is, and they close. They're still mad. They don't want to escrow. But I'm like, remember, we had that conversation, and it's 1.5 times, and title's not going to close you. So right. I just think that conversation is so important. You don't have to, and buyers, it's always their decision. You can use whoever you want. I just want to make sure you know that if you use your lender and this escrow issue comes up, because it can, even in August, even in June, July, where you think you're not going to have issues, you just have to make sure that you're willing to pay 1.5 times at closing.
Yeah, and it's a great way to, when you bring it back to the lender you're working with, and this is something where we tread lightly on in the models, because we don't want to interfere with the relationships that you as an agent and your buyers have already established with the loan officer that they've already talked to before they even met us. And that's important to us. I've got friends that work for lenders that aren't DHI Mortgage that we the goal is never to steal the business. The goal is just to educate the buyer and then let the buyer make the decision. And that's something that when you bring that back to the lender, usually the lender is going to look at it and be like, well, we can't do anything about that. This is the better decision for your family anyway. So we have that conversation early and often up front. And to Kelly's point, you may be closing in August, but I mean, I've been talking about this with my buyers the last couple of months. As we get into the spring season this year and early summer, when we start doing exterior work, there are more homes in the Twin Cities waiting for that work than at any stage in the history of residential construction in the Twin Cities. I promise you, the landscaping companies and those who do irrigation and grading and driveways, they have not been able to add labor at the pace that we're going to need them to work this spring. And so it's going to take a little bit longer. We are going to be asking more patience of people as we get into those months. And that means if your home's going to close in August, there might be people that closed in April and May that are still waiting on their yard. And then the cities often control that as well, right? From approving surveys, from grading surveys after we get the grading done. The last summer we dealt with a drought where certain cities wouldn't let you put new sod down on new homes until they were able to supply the water to get those yards watered properly. There's a lot of things that can pop up. So it's the best thing to do is educate yourself up front on the realities of the conversation and just be prepared for it, right? Expect the escrow part to be part of the transaction.
Yep. And have those conversations, guys, up front with your clients so they know, if they decide to use their lender, that's totally fine. But this could be something that we need you to put money in escrow with to close your home.
Yep.
And I'll just say it time and time again. I've had those conversations and it happens and then they get mad. So you just have to make sure. Sometimes I even put it in an email. Remember, we talked about this, so you're not surprised. Okay, so let's talk about this. This is really important. I feel like it's good to educate people, obviously, on new construction and the process, but as agents right now, we are very fortunate when there is major lack of inventory right now. We're very fortunate when there is inventory and super appreciative to a builder who's building spec homes so we can sell them. But how can we as agents, because I see this all the time, people go in and they're like, hi, I'm so-and-so, and here's my cards. You hand them out, you hand them out so, I mean, I know that's gotta be like so annoying. So I'm really wanting to understand and you to communicate with everyone on here is how can we be better at realtors for new construction of helping you guys?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the answer is let's practice a little old school real estate. One of the things that I think we excel at as a team at Dr. Horton is making friends and building relationships. And having conversations and stopping into open houses and just growing our box, if you will, to the point that when you come into our model, it's not awkward and you're not like, hey, I'm so-and-so, here's my business card, please refer me. No, let's sit down and have a conversation and laugh a little bit and joke a little bit and maybe even talk about, what you're going to find is if you come into our models to talk shop, I truly believe that and I can't speak for every builder in the Twin Cities, but our team, I think, is a little underutilized from that standpoint. Our models are open for the most part 7 days a week. Every single day we're there 11 to 6. And we see everything in the real estate market. Sometimes people think that the new construction people are just kind of focused on their business. That's absolutely not true. We're focused on every corner of the business, because we want to know where our buyers are coming from and how we can help you be better at your business or whatever it might be. And so it's building relationships. It's kind of old school real estate, right? Like where you come in and you get to know the person, and we're always going to greet you with a smile and a cup of coffee, and we'll always make time to sit down and chat, whether it's about your professional life or just kids in college or whatever it might be. We're all living the same life in a lot of instances, and so it's just getting to know people, and that's how you build trust, right? And that's how you make friends. And so then when you do come back with a buyer, you can kind of like just understand that Nick at Dr. Horton doesn't have any cheesy sales pitches. So she's not going to try to be that kind of used car salesman style kind of antics on this person. It's going to be authentic and organic, and we're just going to tell the truth and educate you a little bit.
I think that is important because, a lot of people will say, well, they're just sales or, what else can you get? And, what else can you negotiate? And if you've worked with somebody and asked these questions and work over and over, you can be like, well, actually we did, 25 deals with him last year. This is what we find. It's not all smoke and mirrors. You can't just negotiate $20,000 off. You know what I mean? So it educates people.
And you alluded to this earlier a little bit too. It's a two-way street, right? Like, I am more than happy to refer out realtors to people that walk into the models unrepresented. And I heard somebody in the end of that last call was talking about, I think it was actually Sarah was talking about how a lot of people that are coming into your open houses are unrepresented. It's the opposite with us. I think we've seen more people come in represented than at any stage in my 9 years, just because I think buyers are smarter and they're trying to educate themselves. It's a crazy world out there from a real estate standpoint. And so they're oftentimes meeting with their agent in advance of the time they're walking into the model. But the biggest thing is if you come in and you want us to consider you as an option to maybe list backup homes for people that are unrepresented, it's a two-way street, right? Like if you come and ask us for the same thing every time, but never once we see you, bring a buyer into our models, it makes it a little bit more difficult for us to refer you out, right? Like if you've got somebody shopping at our price point in our area, give us a swing. We might not be a match, like we're okay with that, but give us a chance. And just, it's kind of nice to I think buyers appreciate the agent who tries to think outside the box and the agent that has established the relationships in the industries, whether it's the used side or the new side. Because when you come in, it's not, you don't have to introduce yourself the first 5 minutes. You just kind of pick up where we left off, and then we really get to the point with your buyers.
Yep, I think it's so important. So you were talking about touring. Are you okay? You guys are open, you have hours. Are you okay if realtors send in their buyers anytime without them, or do you prefer that they're there? And do you have people sign in? How you feel about that?
Yeah, this is a great topic actually, because every builder handles this a little bit differently. With us, it's, we understand everybody's busy and you can't always, make your schedule fit your buyer's schedule. So the biggest thing is just trusting that we're going to take good care of them. And never once are we going to try to push you out of the deal. Your buyer's home with Dr. Horton costs the same whether you exist or not. We pay realtors out of a separate fund. It has nothing to do, obviously the amount correlates off, the percentage of commission correlates off the final sales price of the home. But whether or not you're there, the home costs the same. And so it's the biggest thing is just trusting, and you do not need to register your buyer with us the first 30 seconds you're in the model in order to get a paycheck. We're gonna, I've said this, and I don't really mean this, like if I meet your buyer 11 times and you show up number 12 and ask me to put on the contract, I might have a little heart to heart with you about business ethics, but I'll still put you on the contract, right? Like the reality is we want, our business is to build bridges with the real estate community, not burn them down. And the truth is we probably don't need a lot of help from you guys right now. We're selling homes in bulk. And so we're just trying to be willing partners right now. But 2-3 years from now, things are going to transition. And that's when I call 3 times a week being like, please bring me a buyer. I've got this home that I really need to sell, or whatever it might be. We're going to need to walk over those bridges again. So let's continue to build a foundation of them, right? Let's not burn them down.
I love it. I love what you say. So I would still say our goal is to go above and beyond and be amazing agents. So if you are like what Nick just talked about, and your buyers have been in there 11 times, they know nothing about you, they're ready to sign the purchase agreement, now your name's going to go on it. Like, great, he's going to put it on there. Some builders absolutely will not. There's builders out there. Every builder is different. Some that you have to register with. I would always encourage everyone to go above and beyond and be an awesome, agent to work with. Maybe they're going on. We definitely have relationships with people like Nick, and we send people in. Go ahead and look because we want them to see. So we're not always there, but I'd really encourage you guys to not be that agent, right? That's not showing up, that all of a sudden they're at, because those are probably not the people you're going to want to refer, right? Probably not.
You've taken the time to build a relationship. So you also trust us, right? You send your buyer into us and you know how we're going to take care of them. And the thing I'm probably most proud about from a Dr. Horton standpoint, the last 18 months, and I know Kelly alluded to this a little bit, we haven't shaved our outside commission by a penny. We've held firm to the 2.7% throughout the entire stretch of the last 2 years, which a lot of builders have changed that. And I know you were talking a little bit earlier about the Realtor VIP program we're exercising right now. And that's all good. In fact, I can expand on it. So first 3 sales in 2022 earn you a 3.5 commission on every sale thereafter the rest of the year. And if you bring 6 sales, and sorry, my dog has just tipped over something. beauty of doing this from home, right? If you bring us 6 buyers in 2022, we're going to pay you 3.5 commission on every sale through the end of 2023. So it's we're really trying to like make sure everybody on this call and everybody out there in the real estate world understands. You know, we know that your job right now is harder than it's ever been, probably, or at least it's harder than it's been in a decade. And so we want to also make sure you know how we appreciate how hard you're working, and we're absolutely going to pay you what you're worth.
So this is huge, you guys. So we saw last year builders, decreasing, some builders decreasing the commission, right? That they're paying. Dr. Horton is not doing that. Not only are they keeping at 2.7, they're increasing. So I want to give a real example. So in January, for us as our team, we sold 3 Dr. Horton homes. They were all paid at 2.7%. Now Taya is actually going today to sign with Nick on a home. We will now be paid 3.5% on any additional homes sold this year in 2022.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's a huge incentive. And again, we're just happy we have inventory to sell with you guys too, with all the spec homes. But taking that a bit further to what Nick said, then we can get grandfathered into this for 2023. What does that mean? We got to sell 6 homes this year in 2022. And now for 2022 and 2023, we will make 3.5% all the way into next year. So right now, after today, we will be at 4. We will quickly get to 6. And that's just a huge incentive and a huge thank you. Now, we will make sure for our buyers, we're going to sell them the right home regardless. We're not going to be like only, right? We're going to do the right thing. But it's just an amazing, it's just really cool that you guys are doing that.
Yeah. We care, right? We care a great deal about making sure our relationships with, from the top down at this company, we're a big national builder, but the people in Arlington, Texas will tell you they recognize real estate as a local business. And so they let us run our division here in Minnesota as such. And in the Twin Cities, your role as a buyer's agent is as vital as it's ever been. And we want to make sure that you know how much we appreciate that, right? And to your point, Kelly, we're not going to win them all. We hope your buyers are shopping, right? Like it's not just come to Dr. Horton and buy the home, right? Now go look around, get a feel from what's out there. We feel really good about what we offer and the floor plans we're building and the price points we're at and the locations where we're building. That we're going to earn our fair share of business. But the reality is we can't sell to every buyer in the market. We don't have enough homes to do that, right? And so we're going to sell every home we put in the ground. Dr. Horton has never not sold a home it's built. And if January is any indication, it's going to be another giant year for us, right? And again, we continue to try to kind of fill the gap inventory wise. And that's a conversation we're actually having with people that walk in the model that, I met a couple over the weekend. Oh, they're thinking about listing sometime, late summer or maybe next spring. And I'm like, no. Like, the market needs your house. It's less about, I hate to say this out loud, but it's less about the people and more about the product, right? Like the market really needs that person's house. So we got to figure out a way to convince them to move sooner, not because we want to sell them the home sooner, because we know how desperately the market needs these homes. And that's something we're trying to educate the buying public on as they visit our models, is like what you're sitting on right now, the commodity you have as a homeowner, regardless of where it is in the Twin Cities, is gold.
Is gold as long as you price it right. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. But not only that, let me ask you, I have a couple different points. You guys aren't taking contingent offers, correct?
We are. We're one of the few builders that'll still do it. Now, it's a little riskier than it's ever been from a buyer standpoint. Our terms are, just to lay it out there, we'll sign you today. We need you on the market within 5 days. You have to be pended within 60 days. But the truth is, you can get pushed by a non-contingent buyer. And most buyers these days are figuring out ways to qualify non-contingent. And it's an uncomfortable phone call when you have the contingent buyer that signed and 3 days later, you got to call them and let them know that you have a non-contingent offer and they have 48 hours to make a decision. It is a hard conversation to have, but if the expectation is set properly on the front side, then it shouldn't be it's not that big of a surprise. So we're seeing less contingent deals than ever before, just because of the competitiveness in the market. But yeah, we'll still take them. Absolutely.
So really, really good points on this. Like a lot of people aren't taking contingencies, but what he's saying is you can take a contingency, but it's got to be on the market in 5 days. So these guys have to hustle and do it. So if I was talking to a buyer and they're able to do that, I would be saying like, this is actually amazing, because they're going to complain. Well, no, I want to buy and sell all in one day. I don't want to have to do a double move. I don't want to have to rent. Well, no problem, but you just can't do this then, right? Like this is actually amazing. Most builders won't even take this contingency. So this is amazing. So you got to talk about all those moving parts, right?
Yep.
And then you got to get on the market, you got to get it pended, just like he said. So you got to hustle and do all the things. The other thing I want to say is, in these, this separates good agents from, you know, or not so good agents from rock star agents. You have to let them know what that contingent offer truly means. Whether it's existing or new, they can bump you. You are not protected. Well, there is a line on there that probably says you have to release it within 24 hours, 1 day, 2 days, right, Nick? You can write in.
Yeah,
okay,
it's a 48-hour window, right? 48-hour window.
48 hours. So that home has to be sold and through inspection, no other contingencies other than financing, right?
Yep.
So that's very hard to perform. That can be very, very hard to perform. So even if somebody does get that accepted, okay, they're contingent on the sale, they get their house on the market in 5 days. Oh, great. Now it's day 4. They've cleaned, they've had the stager, they're all ready. Photographs have been taken, stager's been there. It's all perfect. And guess what? They just got bumped. Nick got someone in, they just got bumped. They have 24 hours to perform. So people really need to know what that truly means. You could lose it. Now, some people I'd say have a backup plan. They've talked to their lender. Like obviously this isn't Dr. Horton's preference. They would rather have not contingent right off the bat, but I'd encourage you guys where if they're writing not contingent and they get bumped, do they have a backup plan? Have they talked to their lender? And if that should happen, can they drop the contingency so they can move forward? Because it ticks people off. All of a sudden they got their home ready and now they got bumped. It doesn't happen a lot, but it absolutely can happen. And you need to educate your buyers and let them know that, because otherwise you're going to you look bad as a realtor. You look bad.
Yeah, we don't experience, it's not a phone call you make very often over the course of the year. Your point is kind of nail on the head. All you need to do is prove to the builder that worst case scenario, regardless of what happens to the home you're going to sell, that you can just perform, you can close in the end. But, you and I all know that this is going to be 6 months, 7 months down the road. So you got a giant window to sell your house. So the reality is like, you just need to qualify. You don't actually ever probably close that loan, because in that interim, you're going to sell your house, and it gives you all sorts of options, right? Like, in the world of trying to match up closing dates has never been more difficult, but what it does is it lessens the amount of time that you got to kind of find secondary housing, right? Instead of looking for someplace to live for 4 months, maybe it's just 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe it's just a week or a couple nights, or whatever it might be, right? It makes it a little bit easier. But the message I always have to everybody is, when it comes to contingent offers versus non-contingent offers, it's not my house. My name is not Donald R. Horton. I represent the builder. And the builder expects me to sell the house to the most viable offer, and that's generally something without any contingencies. So it's, if you set the proper expectations up front with people, they're not surprised by the messaging when we kind of get there.
Yep. And I want to add to that. So Rockstar agents have a list of rental opportunities for them. A lot of people start off by saying, I don't want to rent. I'm not going to rent. I will absolutely not rent. And then you're like, no worries. No worries. But a lot of times they get there and they think about it and they understand, and they're like, I'm going to have to do that. So we have a whole list of rental opportunities in different cities that do short-term rentals under a year. I'd really encourage you guys to do that. Okay. Then what else I wanted to say is, as we're talking about this and asking, how can we be better agents? How can we be better agents? And I just want to say too, there's a lot of inventory that's on the MLS, but there's plenty of inventory last year and this year that doesn't even make it to the MLS. So when you have great relationships with these agents, I mean, this is what we're doing. Like, is there anything that's coming on? Is there anything? Because maybe some of these builders don't put it on until it's at drywall. But what if you know about it before drywall, before it ever even goes on? That's how you are adding value to your, and winning more as a busy buyer's agent. And this year with major lack of inventory, you got to do stuff like that. So having good relationships with people and checking in every once in a while and saying, hey, listen, is there anything coming on, anything that's not on the MLS? I've seen what's on the MLS.
Yeah. We don't list everything, right? There's, in my neighborhood right now in Hayden Hills and Dayton, we have about 20 available homes to get us through the next 2 months. I've only got about 8 listed. There's a strategy on our side for that. I don't want to sell everything this week. I need inventory to carry me through the next couple months. I can't sell everything this week. It's, we're still staggered in terms of how we're building them. And we're trying to give people honest estimates on when we think they're going to close. So we're trying to really kind of like put some thought. If the one thing we've learned in the last 18 months is we've got to think more about the order of which we build to make it easier on our trades, and so we can keep them working. And so it's communicating to the customer that way. But yeah, and it goes back to taking advantage of the opportunity to build a relationship with the new home sales rep, because you stop into the model and you get to know us a little bit. And yeah, oh, by the way, I've got these other 4 homes that we haven't even listed yet. The closing date might be out there a little bit further, but if that works for your buyer, maybe this is a really nice opportunity for them. And then something that exists that 99% of the real estate world is not going to know anything about. And it's just arming yourself with the tools to go in. And when you're presenting to your buyers, right, and trying to earn their business, more resources doesn't hurt you.
I think it's huge. I think it's so huge. And I think the people that do well this year are going to be the ones that stand out and dig up things that aren't even on the market and have those conversations. So I think it couldn't be more like, I think that's huge. As far as we're talking about being awesome people for new construction and people that a rep like Nick would want to work with, is I will encourage you guys, bring in your buyers. Don't just ask them for, hey, here's my cards. If you have anyone, they hear that all the time. Bring in your people. We had 3 closings in January on the team, and they were all of our buyers. Yep. We're fortunate today that someone from Dr. Horton did give us a lead, and we're signing today. Taya's signing today with them, but you got to bring them in. You got to be active. You got to sell their homes, go above and beyond and do that. Don't just ask for things for free. Be that person who's going above and beyond and bringing your buyers in there. And there'll be times, guys, where we have people that are like, no, we want existing. We do not want new. Their houses are way too close and we will just not do that. And then we're like, no problem. But there's a major lack of inventory. Just want to go through a couple neighborhoods with us. And then we do that. I mean, I can't even tell you how many new construction homes I've sold, and they said, we're not going to do new construction. So bring your buyers in, show them it might not be a good fit, but at least you also educate yourself on what they want. And every once in a while they do it. They buy new construction. I've seen it happen a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the additional things we try to do from an educational standpoint with agents is teach you about construction. There is opportunities to come out and visit our neighborhoods where the construction supervisors will make themselves available. We can walk through 3 or 4 homes at various stages of construction to give you a sense of kind of what we're doing at each stage and what inspectors are looking for and when is the best time for your buyers to visit the home. That's something as an agent that I think is also kind of talked about how I think we're underutilized a little bit from that standpoint is there are more new homes being built in the Twin Cities right now than at any point in my history. And maybe ever. That means builders are selling more, and that means realtors need to be more educated on the subjects. So, understand why we put this utility in this space, and what does this insulation do, and what is a framing inspection? What are they looking at, right? And why are you using so many LED lights, or whatever it might be? There's a gazillion things that we can talk about and are open to educating you guys on from a X's and O's kind of construction standpoint. Believe it or not, we kind of nerd out over that sort of stuff. So it's kind of fun for us, right? Like we like to talk about it, and it's going to make you look better at some point. And not that that's always the goal, but it's just kind of educating yourself a little bit and getting a grasp of all the different avenues you can kind of hit on from a real estate standpoint.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea for a team thing too, Nick. Maybe we could do that as a team and do some stuff. I love that idea. But not only that too, I'd encourage all you guys, final walkthroughs and appointments at, whether it's, at pre-drywall. If you don't know this stuff yet, I mean, in the beginning when I did this, I would go to all of them and I would educate myself. Now I've been to a lot of them. I don't go to as many or the whole thing, but educate yourself so you know it. So people are saying, they're going to ask you, is that standard of this? Yes, that's what I see. That's what I see, every time, on different builders across. Educate yourself on that. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up soon. And anyone at the end, quick Q&A, want to ask a couple more questions. So Nick, when someone comes in, we know a lot of buyers, come in, then they think they're going to work with new construction. And if they do not have a realtor, they will save money. They will save the 2.7%. They will save money. So if somebody comes in and says, if I don't use a realtor, will I save money? What do you say?
Nope. Short and sweet. Nope. I kind of alluded to this earlier. The cost of your home is exactly whether or not you have a realtor, or exactly the same whether or not you have a realtor. And we don't waver on that. In fact, I'll oftentimes push for the deal. I want you to go find somebody to put on this deal, because I know that whatever realtor comes into the transaction is going to have kind of a similar experience. They're going to see how we communicate, how we handle situations, how we take care of the buyers, and then what we deliver in the end. And then our hope is they go back to his or her office and tell 5 of their colleagues that, man, we just did this deal with whoever it might be at Dr. Horton, and what an experience. And everything they said is how it played out. And man, are my buyers happy. And to Kelly's point, yeah, it's a bigger yard than we thought it was going to be. The homes are actually further apart than we thought they were going to be, or whatever it might be, right? It's an experience from a realtor standpoint that we love to write that paycheck. I don't know that Mr. Horton himself would say that out loud, but we love to write that paycheck, because what it does is it earns us maybe 4 or 5 more referrals in the next 12 to 15 months. And that's, again, it's old school real estate, right? It's all about relationship building and earning the right to get referrals. And so we want your buyer to be represented, because we want to pay you, and we want you to go tell everybody how good of a job we did, right? If I'm just like being truthful about it.
Yeah, no, I and if I'm being truthful about it too, what I want to say to people on here in my team is you want to add value. You want to add value and be helpful in this transaction, not a pain in the butt. You don't want to do things that stand out, that these reps remember. She is difficult to work with. She's asking things that she should already know about. She's taking more time. She's making people worry because you ask the wrong questions, and all of a sudden your buyers are sitting there at signing. Now they're worried. Yeah. So just keeping the transaction moving forward, educating your clients, but not asking the wrong things and not being a pain in the butt.
Yeah, just kind of like, and I don't want you not to represent your buyers when you come in to see us, but recognize that we'll do all the lifting. It's our purchase agreement. You can't alter it in any way, shape, or form. All the paperwork comes from the builder side, and we'll do all the lifting. This will be your easiest commission this year. I promise you that, because really all you do is sign the paperwork, and then, every once in a while hop in on the emails I send out every week and say, hey, thanks for the update, Nick, or curious about this. And you can certainly ask questions, right? But what I tell my friends in the real estate industry all the time is it's not the setting to come in and over agent, if you know what I mean. Just kind of sit back and let us drive the car, because we're going to keep it on the road, and we know what we're doing, and our goal, like I said earlier, is the exact same as your goal. And that's a closing table. That's getting to the closing table with a happy customer and a happy homeowner. And the truth is, it's kind of like the overriding theme of all this. When you work in our neighborhoods, like you work where everybody lives. If we didn't kind of hold up our end of the bargain and deliver the product we say we're going to deliver, like they'd be like protesting the model, right? Like I'm their neighbors. We don't run and hide. I'm really easy to come and find, and so. We want a happy customer. So we do all the lifting, and we're happy to. That's what we get paid to do.
And your life would not be fun. Your life would not be fun if you didn't keep things together, keep things rolling, and because they find you all the time. Yeah. Okay, so I love one thing you said is over agent. So everyone take that. Because builder, whether it's Nick or someone else, they want to work with people in a major lack of inventory who keep things together and are great to work with, and do not over agent. I actually wrote it down. I love that. That's like a little term. Don't over agent. Now, one other thing I want to say, and then I'm going to ask my last question, is you talked about altering a PA and the purchase agreement. So here's the thing, and this is what I say to my clients, and this is where you want to be above and beyond realtor and let them know this stuff before they go to signing. This is what I tell people. Purchase agreements from national builders are like 100 pages. They're kind of overwhelming, just so you know, before we get here. They'll go through all of it. But what I want you to know is you can't alter the purchase agreement. I've never seen anyone in my 6 years, we sold 226 homes last year, alter a national builders or just builders in general purchase agreement. If you want to, you can, talk to your lawyer. Like some people ask that you can definitely ask those questions, but I've never seen anyone alter a builder's purchase agreement. So you just, let them know that up front. I've also never had any issues.
Yeah. Yeah. What's funny about our purchase agreement is it is a big stack of paper and it can look overwhelming. Only 7 pages are actually kind of the nuts and the bolts, right? Like this is the 7 pages that are the purchase agreement, where all the details are. Everything else is disclosures. I mean, we've got a new construction, we've got to disclose so much, everything from insulation to radon to smart home technology, to the reality that I'm going to take your phone number and email from you as a buyer, and then I'm actually going to use it and contact you. We still have to, there's a piece of paper that we have to get signed to disclose that. There's so many disclosures, and that's most of what the new construction purchase agreements are just disclosures when it comes to kind of how it's going to go. The purchase agreement's not overwhelming, and we're always willing to generate it and send it out a day or two in advance to review. There's no surprises in there, is what I tell everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes for me, like I find that I tell people, even if it's like an inspection on an existing home, I'll tell people, hey, listen, a lot of times buyers get really, really overwhelmed. I feel like if I tell people that, then they're like, oh, it's not as bad. Right. So I kind of overdo it and I say, it's a long purchase agreement, but we do this all the time. We have people that sign all the time. It's electronic, but at least you're saying that up front. It's 100 pages. There's a lot. Don't be overwhelmed. I'm here to help you, but at least you're bringing it up front. Okay, so I'm gonna ask one more question that's kind of long, and then we're gonna do a quick Q&A. Nick, I couldn't appreciate this more. Like this is a lot of your time and so good information. Okay, so last thing I'm gonna ask is, with a realtor who adds value, what appointments, what should they be on? Obviously, there's a purchase agreement signing, pre-wall, there's different walkthroughs. There's that final walkthrough. What do you recommend that they be on?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Obviously, the purchase agreement, we need you either available to sign electronically or be there in person. It's great if you're there in person. We always prefer it that way, just because it's kind of become a big circle and you just have a big conversation. And there's always something for you to add. And frankly, there's always opportunities for the new home sales rep to kind of pump your tires as we're doing there, right? And highlight the value you're providing to the transaction and what you're going to do. I think if you want to educate yourself, I think, one of the things that we've taken away from the construction supervisors this year at Dr. Horton is the pre-drywall walk. We're building too many homes, and it's a lot of time out of their day to take everybody through the pre-drywall walk. So it's a walk now that the agents do. So if your buyer buys a home with Nick at Dr. Horton, there's going to be a day where I'm going to have you out on a Saturday or Sunday for a half hour, 45 minutes in the morning. We're going to print off all of your kind of electrical plans of the construction packet, and we're going to walk through the home and we're going to give you kind of a guts tour. I think that's a great day for the realtor to attend because it's an opportunity to kind of just be the 4 of us or the 5 of us, and then you can really learn about the home. You can kind of see what they're saying. You can see what we're pointing out. We talk about everything. And then you just kind of feel like part of the process. And then, the final walkthrough, there's value there for the realtor. I think it's a really important 2 or 3 hours between the construction supervisor and the buyers. So I think the realtor's role at the final walkthrough, generally stop in, say hi. If you're gonna stay for the whole thing, just kind of stay out of the way, because this is it's our moment for the buyer and the construction supervisor to really kind of build their relationship, because oftentimes that's the first time they're ever meeting in person. And then from there, it's all educational. There's a million things to talk about when it comes about a new home and how they work. And from an operational standpoint, there's just a little bit more maintenance required on a new home than something that was built 25 years ago. And it's our opportunity to educate that buyer on all of that. Yes, there's blue tape that goes on the walls, and that's always kind of, the realtors, they can play a role in that and point out, we missed this little paint spot or whatever it might be. But the reality is it's the opportunity to educate. And so like I tell realtors, like, they're 3 hours long. If you want to take 3 hours out of your Tuesday morning to come in with your buyers and go through this walkthrough, you can. If it was me, I would probably stop in and just say hi and reassure my buyers that they're in really good hands and just kind of reaffirm what this walkthrough is about. It's educational. And then obviously, the day of closing is always fun, right? So let's have some fun that day.
Okay, the day of closing, but are you guys welcoming realtors? 'Cause most of the time with new construction, us realtors are not allowed.
Yeah, not at the title company, not yet. We're kind of still under our COVID guidelines from that standpoint, but that doesn't mean you can't come to the home. And that's the fun part. I don't attend closing either, right? Closings down in Lakeville, they go down there, they sign on their new home, they come back up north. And then I'm generally try to be there to greet them when they get there, right? Welcome to the neighborhood. Let me know if you need anything. And if the realtor can make that 5 or 10 minute appearance at that moment, like there is, you guys all know we've got really cool jobs. We've got a front row seat to moments that transpire in people's lives that are, once or twice or maybe 3 times in a lifetime. And I don't ever take that for granted. It's the best part of my job is the reality of what we do, right? It's not telling people their refrigerator's delayed. I can promise you that, or whatever it might be. It is the reality that the roof over your head is something we provide. And it's something for your family. This is a huge, huge, huge day. So when you have the opportunity to be there when they first see it, man, not to get kind of cheesy on the bit here a little bit, but it's the best part of the job by far.
I think that's huge. A lot of us aren't at closings, but you can go there after and, find out when they're going to be there. I love, love, love that idea. And then my last questions regarding closing. Are you guys doing anything that's not in person? Are you doing electronic closings?
Only for cash. If you're a cash buyer, we can facilitate a wire transfer and sign documents electronically. Otherwise, we are asking buyers to drive down to Lakeville and close in person.
Okay. That was so good. Thank you so much. We will see you later. The quickest Q&A before we do our next. Any questions? You were so thorough, Nick. You were so
sick of
thorough.
listening to me. That's okay. I'm sick of listening to me too.
Thank you so much. You've been amazing to work with. I think that, and we'll talk to you later. Okay.
All right, Kel. You guys all have a great day. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Like I said, stop into the models, right? We're always happy to chat.
And you are in Dayton. Tell people where you're at.
Yep, Hayden Hills in Dayton. We're in just about to enter year number 3 on this site. 240 homes. We're down to about 20 to sell. And I'm assuming sometime in the next probably month or 2, I will have a new site somewhere here in the north. Nobody tells me where I'm going. I just wait to be told, which I like it that way. I can focus on the here and the now. But yeah, I've got a really neat neighborhood that we're winding down that I've had the privilege to be in since the day we opened it. And it is just, when you see it come to life like that, again, we've got cool jobs. So
it's been an amazing neighborhood. I mean, we've sold so much in there. So yeah. I love that. And you know where I hope you end up. So I want to be one of your first calls. I want to know where you're going. Okay.
Yeah. As soon as I know, you'll know. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks everyone.